the rudder! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Deborah had to have surgery.
I had hip surgery in November of 2024.
Her United Healthcare nurse, Crystal, checked on her.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell that she was struggling.
Deborah needed help.
My infection markers were through the roof.
And Crystal knew what to do.
I called the hospital and said she's coming in.
And got Deborah the help she needed.
Crystal and United Healthcare saved my life.
Hear more stories like Deborah's at UHC.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 160 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald One. Welcome back. It has been a minute. I know. There's a lot of personal things that have been going on here that are behind me, a lot of busy time, work, otherwise, but that doesn't mean that I was not paying attention to all of the soccer. I was at the U.S. men's national team match in Jersey, which was whack in every sense, but the team rebounded in Columbus against Japan in a big way. But still, there are questions to be answered about the team as we enter the month of October. And because there are a ton of questions about the U.S. men's national team, about the upcoming World Cup, I put the call out on social media for listeners to chime in with questions. And I got a few good ones. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going through these questions, and I want to be as informative as possible while at the same time, where I can, provide my perspective on the questions that requested. So here we go. We're just going to go right into it, starting with my homegirl, Ebony Christmas. Of course, if you listen to the DRSFC podcast and Formula One, she is my colleague over there. She also is with Shea Butter FC and Walking 90 podcast. But she starts off with this question. And she has a few questions, but this one I think was a good one to start off with. Who from the last camp raised their stock for the 2026 World Cup? And for me, no doubt, the guy who raised their stock the most was Alex Zendejas. I've been high on him for a very long time. He's killing it at Club America as their number 10. And I'm glad that he shined on the international stage during that last window. Even Mauricio Pochettino, after that Japan match where he scored a goal, said that Zendejas has made him really reevaluate, I should say, his roster in his mind as he starts thinking about who makes it for the World Cup. I would love for him to continue that toward pace. He is still on a mind-bending run in Liga MX with Club America. They love him down there. He has, in my mind, earned more and more looks on the national team, maybe even in line if you think about it for one of these starting positions. And I know we'll talk about starters later, but he is a guy that factors in as someone who I think you would be great off the bench, great in the starting lineup, wherever you need him. He's very versatile and he can create production on offense. And so I thought he did a great job in the camp, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him when the roster is announced for these October matches. I go to Twitter, Kerr at Kerr C17. Kerr asked my thoughts on Tanner Tessman's rise and him being a potential starter. I think Tanner Tessman's been doing great. He's been steadily improving. I think since he's gotten to Lyon, he's kind of settled in, and now he's starting to really make a name for himself over there, and I think that's great. I would love to see him back in camp so he can get that full evaluation. I don't think he's a starter on this men's national team, but we're looking for depth, and we need those competitions for some of those depth positions, and Tanner Tessman can bring that. And I think the way he's playing, he has earned himself another look, another call-up, and I want to see what he does at the international level. There's been times, obviously, he's been called in and hasn't quite fared as well. He's been called in and been hurt, so he hasn't been able to play. But I want to see more of Tanner Tessman, both with Lyon, continuing to thrive there and be productive, but also on the national team. My homie Marcel Hilly, he asks, if the World Cup started today, what's your starting 11? And I think this is an interesting question because I'm just going to take it as of right now, as we're recording. This obviously can change as guys become productive, become hot, as things happen. But this is who I think, if the World Cup started at this moment, who I would put in the starting 11. At goalkeeper, I would put Matt Freese. I think he's been the best goalkeeper so far this year, and he has more than earned that particular start. I think Matt Turner has started to do better at the New England Revolution, but that's a competition that right now I think Freese is the leader in. On defense, I have Jedi Robinson, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, and Serginho Dest. I think that is the back line in any situation right now. Tyler Adams right in front of them as the holding mid. You have Wes McKinney and Diego Luna ahead of him in the midfield. I think both of them can be that box-to-box type guy and play well off of each other. Diego Luna more in a creative attacking role. Wes McKinney going back and forth on both offense and defense. And then up front, I think the controversial one would be in the middle, but I have Christian Pulisic obviously on the left wing. I have Tim Weah on the right wing, and I have Ricardo Pepi starting. I think, again, right now, if all was well, right, if he was healthy, I think Pepi has had the most production of anybody for club and country, and we need that confidence at the 9. You could put Florian Balogun there as well. You could go back and forth, but as of right now, I would stick with Pepi because I think he plays well off of Pulisic, and I think he plays well off of Weah. And between the two of them, being able to get that service where he can get goals and create goals, even with a Diego Luna behind him trying to create stuff, I think that would be very interesting and present a dynamic that I think no other combination truly has. And of course, you can change that coming off the bench with the Balogun, with the Brendan Aronson, with the Sebastian Berhalter, with the Tanner Tessman, whoever you want to bring in to kind of serve these roles. Alex Ndejas on one of the wings, I just mentioned him. I think him coming in for Tim Weah would be a great compliment and really make it where there's no let up as far as creativity and offensive production. 50 Plus Dooner, who, if you are not following them and subscribing to them, you already should. So pause right now, do that, and then come back to this question. But 50 Plus Dooner asked this question: why do you think Mauricio Pochettino seems so undecided on who to bring in for the squad next summer? And I don't know that Pochettino is undecided on who he's going to bring in as far as starters. I think there's a good core foundation that I think he believes is his lineup. But I think the depth is a real concern because there hasn't been a ton of candidates that have done what they need to do to stand out when they get that opportunity on the international level. And that's what he needs to work out over the next coming months. Now, he also hasn't had a lot of games where he's had his main core, the main group that most people would think would form the 26 for the World Cup. And we need to get to that. We need to figure out what that is. I think the starting lineup is there. I think the depth is what needs to be worked out over the next few months. Going back to Ebony, Ebony asked, and kind of related to the lineup, how do once guaranteed players out with injury get back into the fold in time for final selections? I think the first thing is they got to get healthy. That's first and foremost. And I think they also got to get back to regularly playing and doing it at the high level that is going to be required. Once they do that and they do that consistently, and there's not a lot of time left, right? There's only, October, November, and March as official windows before the World Cup. And for Major League Soccer players, they do have January camp as another opportunity. But there's only 3 full windows left before this World Cup roster has to be named. So they need to get back to playing regularly, get back to that high level that they need to play in. And if they get called back into the national team, they got to play with that confidence and they have to produce. Whether it's on defense, whether it's on offense, whether it's keeping a clean sheet between the sticks, they have to produce to the point where Mauricio Pochettino has to consider them and has to say, hey, I can't go to a World Cup without this guy. That's what they need to do. And 26 guys have to have that kind of mentality of the urgency, the motivation, and the commitment to excellence that is required to do well at a World Cup. They need to start that now. It should have already started. And we can talk about that until we're blue in the face. But the next opportunity they have is in a couple of weeks, or actually in a week's time, when they take the field again against Ecuador. And I need them, and we all need them, to produce and play like they understand that time is against them, because time is against them. My buddy Andres Isaja, he writes, and I think it's again related question to the roster. We know Pepe got hot and still didn't make the 2022 World Cup. What would it take for an unknown goalkeeper to this squad to get called up? Or how hot would a striker need to be to realistically make their way to a World Cup roster? And I think at this point, for somebody who has not yet appeared under Mauricio Pochettino in the last year, I think it's going to take a serious hot streak to be considered. Poch has said last month, in all throughout last month's window, Poch said throughout the September window that he's done with evaluating players after that window. And he's going to start working on narrowing this roster down to 26 with the remaining 3 official windows that he has before the World Cup. But never say never. Obviously, there's things that can happen that can reopen doors for someone else. So these guys need to continue to get better. They need to play at a high level, as I mentioned. They have to play with that connectivity that is required on the international stage, and they have to produce. It's all about production. It's a numbers game, and guys who are producing are going to get the call ahead of guys that aren't. They need to show the coach that they're ready for this. There's not one person on this roster who should play like their spot is guaranteed. Not one. Pepe probably should have made the World Cup in 2022, and he didn't. That should serve as a reminder to not just him, but everybody else that, as they say in boxing, don't leave it to the judges. Make the knockout blows needed that force Poch to include your name on this roster when it's time to fill it out. Next question we have comes from Devin Pugh. Devin Pugh, my good man, also, if you were following anything Annapolis Blues, that man is running things over there. He is behind a lot of the magic that happens in the community, and also just at a partnership level with Annapolis Blues. So I'm thankful for him for what he does in this community. Devin asks, what do you think has been the biggest standout thing, good or bad, with the men's national team? And I've said it on this show before, I'll say it again. I think the sense of urgency just has not improved the way that it absolutely has to. Urgency is vital in a World Cup, is how teams advance, is how teams get left behind. And we don't see that sense of urgency present in every game. My buddy Ashu Dalvi kind of asked something similar, where he asked, what makes me worried about how the men's team is progressing? And again, we've seen a ton of players, and a lot of players have come into this lineup, come into this national team, come into the various camps, played in the Gold Cup, played in the Nations League, played in January camp. What worries me, and what has worried me over the last couple of years, is that the urgency that has been lacking or otherwise inconsistently present. And that some of these players appear to be regressing on the club level. So that confidence isn't there. And when they come, they're playing teams that they may think are weaker than them, or not as great as them, or not as technically sound. and they play like it. And these teams that we're facing are also trying to get to a World Cup. They're also trying to improve. And they are not taking us lightly. No one is anymore. This is not 2002 where we can surprise people on the world stage. This is 2025. In 2026, everyone's going to want to take us out for more reasons than one. And this team needs to be ready to absorb the best shot from everybody. And right now, they're not doing that. And that's something that needs to continue to improve. The next stretch of games are going to be very difficult, and they need to rise to the challenge each and every time. But even in January camp, even in, if we're playing those send-off games against teams that maybe didn't make the World Cup, they need to be ready to take the game to the level that is required to not just advance at the World Cup, but to win it. And if they don't know what that is, they need to go in search of it. They need to find that level of commitment, motivation, determination, and drive. They need to find it because that's what's going to be necessary. And as the world descends on these shores for the World Cup in all of North America, each of those teams are searching. Canada, United States, Mexico need to be searching for that urgency. It's been present. I've seen it in Canada's team. I've seen it in Mexico's team. It needs to be more present for the United States. We'll pause right here as we got to take a quick break. We will address more of these questions when we come back. So stick around.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
When your investors, customers, and workers demand more from your business, make it happen with SAP. The AI-powered capabilities of SAP can help you streamline costs, connect with new suppliers, and manage payroll, even when your business is being pulled in different directions. To deliver a quality product at a fair price while paying your people what they're worth too, so your business can stay unfazed. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
Membership means more with American Express Business Gold. Earn 4 times membership rewards points in your top 2 eligible spending categories every month, including eligible U.S. advertising purchases and select media, and U.S. purchases at restaurants, including takeout and delivery. What are you waiting for? Get the card that flexes with your spending every month. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA Soccercast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS Store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA Soccercast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back, and we're getting to more of questions that were submitted on social media to myself personally around the U.S. men's national team and the World Cup. I go back to my man, Devin Pugh, who talks about the upcoming schedule. And he asked, do you think we are facing adequate competition at this point to the World Cup in Ecuador and Australia? Or how adequate is the competition at this point? And I answered that we definitely are. Our fall series of opponents are all teams that have qualified for the World Cup: South Korea, Japan, Ecuador, Australia, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And we're rumored to be in talks with Portugal and Belgium for friendlies in March, but that's definitely who we should be playing. Those type of teams that have already qualified for the World Cup, or who we expect to be in the World Cup. Since the end of the 2022 World Cup, we have played the following teams that have already qualified for the World Cup. We've faced Colombia twice. Obviously, co-host Mexico 5 times, Canada 4 times, Uzbekistan, Brazil, Uruguay, New Zealand, South Korea, Japan. And that's not to mention the teams that we've played that are either close to qualifying or otherwise in real contention to qualify for the World Cup. That's Oman, Germany, Ghana, Slovenia, Serbia, Switzerland, Turkey, Saudi Arabia. So yes, I think we are facing the competition we need to face. There's obviously some windows that I feel like we could have gotten better competition, but the way that the FIFA schedule is right now, the FIFA calendar, it just sucks for friendlies if you're not qualifying for the World Cup, because everybody's in some sort of qualification or Nations League or Euros or Gold Cup or whatever, Africa Cup of Nations, Asia Cup. All these competitions have kind of eliminated the number of opportunities you have to face real teams in friendlies. But I think we've done a great job this fall at ratcheting up the level of competition that we are facing to get the test that we need. Teams that we can see in the group stage, teams we can see in a knockout stage, and in the case of a couple of these teams you could say that are contenders to win it all. We'll get a few more of them through March, and we need to take these tests so we can understand the mentality that is needed, that is required to advance in the World Cup as the co-hosts. Appreciate that question. Ebony, we go back to her for this question, and she's talking about the U.S. men's national team and U.S. women's national team. Both teams will be in Florida for essentially a month with friendlies for both teams. Match fatigue in an area is a real thing, and how does U.S. Soccer expect to fill these stadiums for that amount of games in a row? And I agree with her in the premise that I think match fatigue is indeed real. Not just for the people who live in a particular place, but for fans who travel to these games. They want to see new places, they want to see new venues, and they want to be in places where they can create some awesome atmospheres that feel fresh. And too often, we see the men's national team play in a venue or city, and then the women's national team plays in the same place or in the same state a couple of weeks later. I get on U.S. Soccer side why they do that. It helps with logistics in a big way for them. But it's asking a lot of the local fans to play host for multiple matches in a row. It's also asking a lot of their wallets to try and get the same people to come out 2 to 3 times in a row. And fans who travel in for the games usually only pick one of them if they're going to be multiple in a row in the same spot. And I think it would benefit to see the teams venture to some of these places that they haven't been to in a long time. Cities that have not had opportunities to see either team play live. I'm talking about cities like Baltimore, my hometown Detroit, Buffalo, Portland, Seattle, Chicago. Put a game in Vegas, put a game back in New Orleans. Raleigh-Durham's out there, Richmond's out there. I'm sure Atlanta will be heavily in the mix once the National Training Center opens next year. And U.S. Soccer can be strategic about this when they can. But it would be nice to see our teams move throughout the United States and really build a foundation by giving fans in some of these cities more of the chance to see them play. And it's important for everybody to have access to this team, to both the men's and women's national teams, because that's how you build the fandom. That's how you build that foundation that will never waver when there are lean times. I go to my friend Ashu Dalvi. He asks a very fun question for me. He asked for my thoughts on the World Cup mascots, and I like them. Some people may not like them. I don't know what to say to you except they're fun. And that's what mascots are supposed to be. They're supposed to be fun. Yes, they are not striker dog. the 1994 mascot, which I think is the best ever. I thought they were maybe going to combine the elements of each of the host countries into one mascot, but I think it's cool that they did three to give each country its own representation. I'm sure we're going to have a ton of cool merch with all three mascots. You can count me in for all of them. I think they're cool. Clutch, Zayu, Maple, I think are great. Heading back to Ebony, Ebony asked another question, and for those who submitted multiple questions, I thank you so much for this because a lot of them were questions that needed to be pursued. Ebony asked about the upcoming World Cup tickets, or at least the current World Cup ticket phase that's going on right now. She says, FIFA has started sending emails about World Cup tickets. Have you heard any comments or complaints yet? And if so, what? And I will say, I have not yet heard from FIFA about the Visa presale application that we submitted a couple of weeks ago. I've heard some people have said they got an email, but none of my friends have, and I haven't yet either. Now, the biggest complaint that I've heard was over how long the wait times were on the first day of the application window, which honestly is to be expected. I logged on day 2 in the afternoon, and it took me a whole 2 minutes to log on and fill out my application and hit submit. It was as easy can go. Now, it was weird that we weren't applying for actual tickets to matches instead of just a kind of a window to buy tickets. That might be something that needs to change, but the beginning and ending of every window is going to be full of people waiting. And I already know to expect that. And everyone should expect that as well. The complaints are going to accelerate once we find out how much these tickets really are for each match and how quickly matches like the US disappears. And as we even get towards the World Cup draw on December 5th, and we know what teams are going to be in some of these matches, then you're really going to start seeing, hey, I want to get to see Germany. I want to get to see Brazil. I want to get to see Messi in Argentina, and all those games are sold out or at very high prices. I'm not looking forward to that. But for application windows, it's best to do it in the middle of that window where there are fewer people trying to access the portal. It saves you a lot of time, and I promise you, it saves you a lot of headache. Going back to my friend Ashu, Ashu asked if you could travel to 3 World Cup group stage games, which cities would you hit? And this is a great question because as we're talking about tickets, I'm trying to figure out where in the world I'm going to try and go for all these games. I know I'm trying to go to the US games, but if there are 3 cities or venues I would like to visit, the first one is Vancouver. I've never been to Vancouver. There's a great chance for me to go to a match there after the US plays in Seattle, and I'm going to do my best to make it. It's absolutely something I want to do. A lot of people consider Vancouver the most beautiful city in North America. I have not yet witnessed this beauty, and I promised myself to do so during the World Cup at some point. Especially when we get to that game in Seattle, it's easy to drive the extra 2 hours, and I will do it, whether it's for a match or not. I think number 2 would be Monterrey and Estadio BBVA. BBVA might have one of the best stadium views in all of North America and one of the best in the world. And I have longed to want to get to a game there, and I'm hoping I can make that happen. I think number 3 would be back in the United States in that SoFi Stadium in LA. I have not been to that stadium. It's one of the few I haven't visited in the United States, and I'm glad that the US are playing 2 group stage matches there. I'm itching to be there for the opener because I think that will be a spectacle, and it will signify honestly the years of hard work that I and so many others have done to get to that point to watch our team play. So I would love to do that. Vancouver, Monterey, LA. Those are my top 3 venues I want to see during this World Cup. And 2 honorable mentions. I will mention not the venue, but the World Cup final. I want to be there. The reason should be obvious. And hopefully I can get to Dallas to attend a game with my family. I think that would be very cool to, go to a game with my dad and my brother, my cousin, and go to a game of the World Cup. It doesn't, obviously the U.S. may not be playing there, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what game it is. If I can get tickets to one of those at a decent rate where I can bring them, I think that would be really cool. Moving on to my buddy Vishal Patel, he asks, somewhat jokingly, but in seriousness, could something be done about FIFA executives? And this is a response to all the talk out there recently about potentially expanding the World Cup to 64 teams. And I think all of the World Cup moving to 64 teams, all that talk, it needs to stop. Like, seriously, we haven't even had a 48-team World Cup yet, and already they're talking about 64. You haven't even organized when all these games are going to be played. in this 48 team World Cup, the first of its kind that's coming next summer. And we're already talking about 64. Let's not, because first of all, it's killing World Cup qualifying as is. And 64 teams would render it essentially obsolete. I personally would prefer, I thought the perfect number was 32. That really made World Cup qualifying mean something. And I think all around the world, people understood the gravity of making that 32 team World Cup. It was the best 32 teams for the most part in the world, and you had to really grind to get there. But if we're going to stick with 48, then stick with it for a while and let everyone settle into it. CONCACAF does not even know what their format's going to be for the next round, because this round, they had 3 co-hosts that took away from their 6 allotted direct spots. And so we need to figure out this so that they can just settle on something and let it rock for a little while and let World Cup qualifying do its thing and really make it meaningful. FIFA should be focused on improving the game around the world, lessening the impact of just making money and making the game more accessible, especially the World Cup. That's why they exist, and they need to get their focus back on that, not on adding games and adding teams to what was already a great tournament and diluting that product. The last 2 questions I'm going to say are things that a lot of people are talking about, and I'm not going to shy away from that conversation. And I'm going to kind of marry the 2 questions together as we keep going. So again, I go back to my friend Ashu, who asked, quite frankly, how likely is it that World Cup games get moved because of President Donald Trump? And I will say this, the World Cup is not moving from the United States. I know that Trump and Infantino are close friends. Infantino's put a FIFA office in Trump Tower in New York City and has given Trump way more influence and roles in FIFA events, way more than they've allowed in the past. Federations have been suspended from international competition for less, but it's not moving. The talk of him moving games out of certain cities is just rage bait as well. We're too close to the tournament for things to move around. There's too many contracts involved. I am a lawyer. Too many contracts involved to undo, and they can't just up and pick it, except if, God forbid, there was some sort of natural disaster that prompted an immediate decision to be made. But that's the only way it will really happen in my mind. But of course, we live in interesting times. And speaking of those interesting times, our last question comes from Randy Eshelman. That's at Randy with a Y on social media. And Randy asks, how do you support this team that has, let's be honest, become a tool of a fascist regime? And I'm not sure if this was posed as some sort of gotcha question or posted thinking that there was no way that I would address it. But I'm happy to address it because I think it's an important question. And unfortunately, the same people who tried to politicize human rights support and LGBTQ plus rights by saying we should keep politics out of soccer are silent when actual politics have been inserted into soccer. So let's talk about it. The first thing I would say is this team has not become a tool of the administration. As much as we see the president getting involved in the World Cup, deep down, I don't think he really cares about the U.S. men's national team or the game of soccer at all. He just wants his personal influence on everything. And it's on the Federation and it's on FIFA to deny that or limit it. They're not allowing Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum or Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney the same influence or access. And last I checked, they're part of this World Cup too. Those nations are a part of this World Cup too. Yes, the bulk of the games are being hosted in the United States, but Canada has matches and so does Mexico. And they're not being afforded the same influence as the sitting president of the United States. And when it comes to what is definitely authoritarian moves by this government, no one needs to inform me what they think it is. I live in Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, and we have been under a National Guard occupation for almost 2 months now. We know what it's like to walk to a soccer match and see National Guard, ICE, and other unmarked law enforcement patrolling the area around the stadium, on our mass transit, at our stores, our parks, and outside our homes. We don't like it, and we want them gone so that we can continue the work that has been viciously interrupted by their presence in our daily lives. And I don't wish what's going on here upon anyone. The world will descend upon this city for the World Cup draw on December 5th at a venue in the Kennedy Center that I can legit walk to. And the president convinced FIFA to pick that venue when FIFA needs to be the adults in the room and realize that not everything revolves around that guy. But what U.S. soccer needs to do and what FIFA needs to do, and what I and others have already been doing, is present the information and offer the best practices needed for fans to understand that they can come to the United States and enjoy the World Cup in a safe and responsible way. Because contrary to what people online might think, fans are still planning on attending this World Cup. I've heard from so many friends abroad about how they plan to come. They are already asking questions about travel logistics, ticketing process, the stadiums, and everything else. And I'm a big believer in giving out the information, the true information, and I can then back that up with my experience and if they ask, my perspective, because my goal is for all of them to be able to get here and watch their team play and support them like I will be supporting this United States men's national team. It doesn't matter what country they hail from. It's paramount that if a team qualifies for the World Cup, their players, the staff, family, and of course the fans should be able to come for this tournament and to enjoy the tournament and to support their team. Tomorrow isn't promised. You can't just wait for the next World Cup because you never know when that will be or where it will be. And somewhere that focus was lost by the people in the decision-making positions, and it needs to be rediscovered and recentered. Accessibility, affordability, inclusion, excitement should be what U.S. Soccer, Canada Soccer, the Mexican Football Federation, CONCACAF, FIFA, and this administration should be focused on. Not authority, not influence, not revenues, and certainly not ego, particularly this president's ego. The legacy of this World Cup should be a strengthening of the foundation of support in this country and the investment in the future of this game. That when we're talking about academies, that safe paces to play, that's giving fans an opportunity to afford to go to their first match, which I was proud to see the American Outlaws do first with the price cap on tickets in the section and working with Kickback Media, something that was announced today, to even give out free tickets to get people to games. It's about making our leagues and tournaments easy to find on TV so that anyone can watch and dream. I personally have been on the board of a nonprofit for over 7 years now, almost 8 years. And we have focused on creating safe spaces for kids to play soccer and telling the stories that show how soccer can heal and unite the world. And we've been doing that work and we'll continue to do that work. And I will continue to work with people individually to give them the information that they need to make the best decisions about how to attend this World Cup or MLS game or NWSL game or a local USL game or anything else that helps this game grow. That's my pledge. Hopefully all of you out there are thinking about what you can do. It will take time. It will take effort. But that should be the focus and not any authoritative administration who merely seeks all the credit for the group project that they normally wouldn't be caught dead paying attention to. And the last thing I'll say is this. The U.S. men's national team should always be a team, and the U.S. women's national team, for that matter. They should always be teams that represent all of us who seek to make this world an inclusive, welcoming place. It's for Black people, it's for brown people, it's for Native Americans, it's for gays and lesbians, it's for trans people, it's for parents and children, it's for people who make minimum wage, it's for the underserved. It's for you, it's for me, it's for all of us. It's not for him. And we should fight to preserve that instead of letting his influence creep into it. Easier said than done. But that's why we have leaders. That's why we have people who step up in the face of adversity to deliver what needs to be done for this game to thrive free of influence. And unfortunately, in the absence of leadership, we got to do that ourselves. So let's get it done. Let's ensure that this World Cup and our game is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people. And let's figure out a way to break through that influence and let the world know that we are welcoming them to our country for the World Cup next summer. Those are all the questions that we got. We went through a lot of them. I want to say thank you to Ebony, Kerr, Devin, Ashu, Vishal, Andres, and Randy for all the questions. And I want to keep these questions coming because as we get closer to the World Cup, the number of questions are certainly going to grow. And I want to keep you all as informed as possible. So include questions on the U.S. women's national team as well. men's national team, the World Cup, USL, the players, the leagues, everything about this game of soccer in these United States. You can submit those questions to me via social media on Blue Sky or Twitter. At USA Soccercast is where you can follow and submit, and I really appreciate everyone who continues to do that. That will do it for episode 160 of the USA Soccercast. Thank you for listening. As I mentioned, find us on Blue Sky, Twitter, YouTube. Follow us on all those at USA Soccercast. Subscribe, rate, and review our shows. It helps us get in front of new people and is greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. And finally, head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast to check out our affiliate links and our stimulus store. We have everything you need to watch the beautiful game and follow your teams. And using those links also helps support this show. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.